Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. And today I'm coming at you guys with a treat, actually. So, I decided, hey, man, everybody's playing Phantom Knights and, everything that has dark engines. They're just like, let's splash it in this, let's splash it in that. And I'm like, hey, man, what about, the actual Phantom Knight deck? I myself am actually... I'm guilty of it for playing PK Fire because I splashed Phantom Knights in my Burning Abyss. And I feel so bad I have to kill myself. No, but I was like, man, Phantom Knights are really cool as their own deck. They're really good as their own deck. I think it's an awesome deck. It's a really solid control deck. It has, some flaws. Every deck has flaws, and I think this deck has some real flaws with interacting with spells and traps, but it's really solid against combo decks because it has a lot of ways to negate monster effects outside of just Fog Blade itself. It has some really cool ways to interact with your opponent. It can grind for a very long time. It's a really solid deck, and I like it, man. I really want to showcase you guys my take basically on Phantom Knights, pure Phantom Knights, because I think they're an awesome deck, and they deserve the spotlight. Everybody's playing Phantom Knights and everything except for a Phantom Knight deck, and I think this card, it is good, and Konami should have just made it to where you have to use Phantom Knights to make it, to avoid people throwing it in every single deck possible. Phantom Knights as a pure deck is awesome. I'm going to show you guys my list. I hope you guys can kind of just level with me and understand why I really wanted to make pure Phantom Knights, because they deserve the spotlight, and I really want to show you guys that just by themselves as a deck, they're still really solid, and they can contend with the meta. So let's start off with the Phantom Knights. I wanted to play the best ones, which are the level 3 Phantom Knights. I have the other ones, like the level 4s. I experimented with them, but they were what I call really niche, and their effects were okay, but they didn't really get me where I was trying to get with this deck, and at the same time, they really weren't winning games for me. They didn't have extremely impactful, ridiculously amazing effects. But all three of these Phantom Knights have extremely impactful, ridiculous, amazing effects. So I just maxed out on all three of each of the best Phantom Knights, which are the level 3 ones. Conveniently, the ones that I play in my Burning Abyss as well. Their effects are amazing, you guys. PKs is no joke, man. This deck is a really good, solid control deck. And it conveniently has the ability to go second, even without hand traps. Just due to the fact that Gumblar and Rogominiad are banned, now we are allowed to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, even though FTKs are always going to show up. The fact that you can now go second and you can actually just interact with your opponent and figure out the challenging way of breaking their board. How do we break this board? Let's do it. Next up, we have 3 copies of Junk Forward. So I play some Warrior Extenders that are level 3. The reason why, obviously, because I play the level 3 ones is because they have synergy with making Breaksword and Levia the Sea Dragon. But also, the reason why I play the Warrior Extenders is because I wanted to use Isolde as a way to turbo out Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardish a little bit faster. Also, at the same time, what Isolde really does for me is she allows me to, play through interruptions, basically meaning that if my opponent has hand traps, they'll want to use it on Isolde because they'll think that my deck is some deck that absolutely relies and revolves around using Isolde, which is not actually true at all. This is a Phantom Knight deck. This deck revolves around turboing out Bardish and Phantom Knights of Breaksword as quickly as possible. So I like just being able to capitalize on the ability of Isolde to search, because that, if they impermanence that, that's fine because you can summon another one. But also at the same time, Isolde is a way that really allows you to get the Ash Blossom or the Impermanence or the Veiler out the way so that you know that your Rusty Bardish can resolve. Because resolving Bardish turn 1 is the ultimate goal of establishing and how this deck can really set up to accumulate some of its advantage that you can actually snowball into. So I play Marauding, Kagemushi, and also Junk Forward. Conveniently allow you to make Breaksword. And Breaksword's a really good card in its own deck. Just for the simple fact that it allows you to play into boards and play through boards as well. Even if they're boards full of disruption, the fact that you can use Breaksword as one of the first plays that you make, knowing that it's a solid commitment, because if you have targets engraved, Breaksword will allow you to get 2 ways to play through a board, which is really strong. So those are all the monsters. I literally play 9 Phantom Knights and 9 Warrior Extenders, which make 18 monsters. That's it. I'm not playing Armageddon Knight. I'm not playing Mali. I'm not playing Dark Grepher. Nope. I'm not playing Zephyros. Nope. I'm just literally playing Phantom Knights and an equal amount of warrior extenders. So the math was actually pretty accurate that I have just as much of a chance to open with the warrior extender as I do a Phantom Knight, which is perfect because like a Phantom Knight and a warrior extender, when you make Isolde, the Phantom Knights have amazing graveyard effects, obviously. Now for our spells, I am still playing 3 Allures for the simple fact that actually outside of Marauding, all my monsters, outside of Marauding and Junk, all my monsters are basically dark, and I felt that 12 targets was a comfortable number. I actually tested it with it too, just to see how often like Allure would either screw me over or I would break, or I would have like only 1 dark and I need the dark, and it didn't even happen that way. Allure actually ended up being amazing for me. Just testing it. And also keep in mind, like, you have decks that have 8 level 8s that run 3 trade-ins, and this deck happens to have like a really good way to like recover its dark monsters that are banished, and also having draw power is really important. And this was the only draw power that I can think of that wasn't desires, that wouldn't like really like screw up my engine. And also like Indulgence or Extravagance, even though it's like a new card, this deck happens to have really strong extra deck cards that it just needs. So yeah, Allure was like the only draw power that I could really come up with that would work for the deck and not throw anything off. And then next up, I played 3 Instant Fusions. So I play altogether 12 Warrior Extenders. I'm not playing so many to the point that I literally, like, my deck is predominantly based on getting 2 Warriors on the field, kind of like how Dark Warriors operate. I just wanted enough ways to make Isolde, because Isolde gets me the Summon Sword. Summon Sword can basically, at the end of it, make me, allow me to go into Rusty Bardish, which really helps me out a lot, because Rusty is just a great card. And then we have 3 Called by the Graves. Called by the Graves are important because if your opponent opens 2 hand traps, what you want to do is you want to use Isolde as one of the ways to bait. If I have a Called by and I made Isolde and they negate Isolde or use a hand trap on her, I'm not going to Call by it. I want them to hand trap Isolde. I want them to hand trap Isolde. Like, you guys understand the way I'm playing my deck? I'm literally using Isolde as a way to just absolutely throw my opponent off. That's all I want. I just want them to think that my deck has to, like, it revolves around Isolde, and if they hand trap her, they're going to stop it. And then, when I'm able to make my Rusty Bardish, I can just Call by the Grave the next hand trap that they use on it, because this deck is actually that good. It can really do that stuff, like, where they hand trap Isolde. Basically, if they don't Gamma her, if they Impermanence or Ash Blossom her, you can use one of your Warrior Extenders to go into Summon Sword. Banish a Phantom Knight. Like, I'm telling you, you got a place to make. You can end up going into Rusty anyways, and the Call by is going to guarantee that the second hand trap gets answered. But you still want to play 3 of it regardless. Even if you don't use it on a hand trap, this is a really solid card to set in your back row, because it is a disruption that is very relevant against all of the best decks right now. And then I played 4 equips. I obviously just played some of the best ones to draw, so that they're never really going to be bricks in your hand. The Phoenix Blade is the only one that can break, but the reason why I'm still playing Phoenix Blade is just for the simple fact, not about Gumblar or anything, for the simple fact that it's a cumulative advantage that I can use, so that when I co-link my Nightmares, which I do very often, I can actually capitalize on the ability to draw for free. And being able to boost Rusty really helps as well. So I just like the Divine Sword. It's one of those equips that you can afford to draw, and it still is not the end-all be-all. Otherwise, this could have just been another extender as well, like Autonomous Action Unit, but I still like the Phoenix Blade. I really do. I don't think like it's just ridiculously broken the way I'm using it in the deck, because I'm just using it to try to keep my hand advantage pretty decent, because this deck can burn out of, like, as far as your hand resources go, like, that card economy is very like tapped out towards the end of your turn, because you're setting back rows and your hand's pretty empty oftentimes. So it's just nice to have an extra card in hand, so that you can use it for whatever you want, whether it's for Nightmares, whether you're actually just using it as a way to beat over problematic monsters. It just really helps, the Phoenix Blade. And then everything else is going to be 1-ups for the spells. So we have 1 copy of Rank Up Magic Launch. I've considered playing 2 of it, because like I wanted to be able to go into my my Azathoth play with Thanatos, and I also wanted to be able to go into my favorite play with this rank up, which is the Rebellion Requiem play. I like it. I like Rebellion Requiem more than the Azathoth Thanatos, because 1, it's more aggro. 2, it also provides more longevity. And 3, it extends your board, which Azathoth does not. Azathoth is just like it's a one-trick pony. It's a one-turn stun. Dark Requiem allows you to OTK. Dark Requiem extends your board, special summon the XYZs from your grave. Dark Requiem allows you to literally, like, not only, like, OTK and extend your board, but it literally allows you to basically choose when and where you want to use it. Whereas with Azathoth, you can stun them for that 1 turn, but after that 1 turn is up, you can't use Afterthought anymore to like lock them out of monster effects, but Requiem is very reactive, and you can actually put more materials under it because of this other effect as well. So I just really like it as a 1-of. It's a great card. I've considered playing it at 2, as I explained. We have 1 Rhoda, Everything's Warriors, you guys, and then 1 Foolish. It's a very good toolbox. Toolbox X card. It's pretty universal in what you can use with it. So I would say more or less just how flexible it is. It kind of makes it just like a starter card in itself, so it's really, really good. I like Foolish. And then 1 Reborn. Soul Charge is banned, but I don't really think I would play Soul Charge in this deck anyways. I don't really care too much for it, and the best monsters that I could summon, like, they're normally getting banished, and I'm not trying to Soul Charge a bunch of Link monsters back. Like, I was just playing this deck in a really, really kind of like pseudo mid-tempo paced, but at the same time, I could OTK out of nowhere, but I really just didn't want to make it focus on like OTKing right off the bat. I kind of just wanted it to be a mid-paced tempo control deck. We have 3 Fogblade. It is absolutely the best trap that you can search off of any of the Phantom Knights because it has longevity. It's a negation and a follow-up. What more could you ask for out of that? And I personally play 2 Mist Claws. Even though you can play 1, I find that literally just by having the second one in your deck, it increases your grind game synergy exponentially, because if this deck can't OTK you, it needs to be able to continue grinding. So adding back your banished resources matters because you banish your Phantom Knights very often and very frequently. And just being able to add back like the specific one that you happen to banish all 3 copies. Like I go through Boots pretty fast. I go through Boots more than any of them. Just adding back a Boots, allowing me to just grind more. And also the Graveyard Effect is a lifesaver. 1 Brigadine. I'm really just playing Brigadine because it's a good option. It just enables a lot more plays by having it in your main deck, but also at the same time, this is not your standard Warrior Turbo deck, so you're not really trying to like set it up turn 1 all the time. It's really good just for the simple fact that it is an extender. It gives you another monster on board, which matters. It allows you to make Rusty because it is a dark. And then we have 1 copy of Wrong Magneting. Wrong Magneting is a really good card, giving you the interactions on your opponent's turn and also enabling you to get the draw power that you need. It's really nice. But I found it was like a good 1-of. It is searchable, and you kind of like, it can lead to situational hands if you play more. So those are my Phantom Knight traps, and they're the only traps I play. You can also play cards like Rivalry and Gozen if you want to. You can play Solemn Strikes, Warning, Judgment. It's totally up to you. You can play even more traps if you want, but I found, why not play the traps that are archetype specific and searchable and give you some really solid ways to interact with your opponent. Our extra deck, I'm playing 2 Rusties. Even though you can summon it off of Fogblade, if you actually read the last part of it, it summons a Phantom Knight from your grave, but you banish it when it leaves the field. That sucks. The fact that like if I was only playing 1 Rusty and it gets summoned off Fogblade and it somehow leaves, that I just lose access to Rusty for the rest of the duel, it really sucks. And this is an actual Phantom Knight deck, so we need at least 2 of them. He's our boss monster. Gets you a lot of work done, and just the ability to pop cards on your opponent's turn is amazing. 2 copies of Isold. Normally when you summon 1, if for some reason you're playing, like this happens, like if you're playing against that one person that likes to literally just impermanence or gamut her like on summon, because every time I summon her, I use her effective search automatically. Like I just do it because I want them to use something on it. And if they, for whatever reason, like negate it, I like having the second one as a follow-up. And also it helps you to link climb into summon sort, because like making this guarantees that you can make this without relying on actually just using like Reproducus or anything like that. Like this guarantees that you can do it, because sometimes you have to like use really, really bad hands that allow your bad hands allow you to make Rusty. And the reason why your bad hands allow you to make Rusty, because like anything that gets 2 warriors on field literally makes Isold. Isold literally gets into summon sort. Summon sort ends up getting you Rusty. And the reason why I say bad hands is bad hands are when you can't spam the board with dark monsters, and that's how you make Rusty. So this really helps, and I like the second Isold because if the first one gets stopped, you have the second one for the next turn. Now for our Nightmares, I just play a Phoenix and a Cerberus. I don't have Unicorn, and I don't really think that I would be playing Griffin. I just think Griffin's misplaced because you have monster negations, like a lot of them. A lot. I mean a lot. Like you have monster negations on lock, so I really don't think that you need to go overkill with the Griffin. The only synergy that it would have outside of that is like grinding by setting more traps. We have Akashic Magician. Akashic is super good going second. It's really easy to make this card because everything that you spit out is literally just warriors. And it happens to be a dark, which is the most important thing, because it's kind of like a way for you to help to break a board, and also a follow-up extension in the sense that one more monster on field equals Bardish, which is really good. So yeah, it helps. Like, there are games that I've literally just like made this and Breaksword just to out 2 cards, and then use Breaksword to bring back 2, and then I end up making Rusty, and it was so downhill from there. One copy of Underclock. Underclock is just a really good card. Whenever you have awkward hands, it still is a Dark Link too that helps you to go into Rusty, and it allows you to OTK, because I don't have Borosword right now and I don't have Borload, so you kind of have to OTK the old-fashioned way. For XYZs, we play Rebellion and Requiem. Very often you're going to be going into this package because Breaksword literally just gets you the Phantom Knights back as level 4s, which goes into this. This detaches its materials. You shrink a monster, get the boost, and then you can make this at the follow-up at the end of everything. I play 2 Breakswords because when you're grinding, which this deck grinds a lot, the second Breaksword comes up. The third one hasn't really come up that much. But the cool thing is you do have an interaction with your Quick Play rank up where you can bring one back off a Fogblade and attach a material under him with the Quick Play, and then when you pop them, like, which is really cool, you get more Phantom Knights back. Levier just it's a problem solver for the deck. You have to play at least one. It has nothing to do with Rongo or Gossip Sword or anything like that. It's literally just because it solves problems. And then the one in Rogue Raijin, you can play the level 3 fusion, the Dragoness, I think it's called. But like I felt like as far as making Breaksword, I was already pretty solid on it because I have 18 monsters that literally all do that job. Like, basically 15 of which I believe all just spam themselves. So like I had no issues with making Breaksword. So I just felt I just want something that can not only be a starter card, but also a way to help me play through Interruption. Like this and Breaksword and Akashic Magician are the very often the cards that I'm using to help me to break boards. And at the end of it, if I can make a Rusty and just Fogblade back my why am I forgetting his name right now? Like, I've been playing this guy forever. Breaksword. Fogblade back my Breaksword onto one of his zones, I can pop another card. So the deck's pretty okay at going second. It's not the best, but it can break boards, and that's the beauty of it, that it's not a one-trick pony. It's not a, oh, I have to go first and set my traps or I can't play kind of deck. Like, it can still break boards. It can get pretty aggro. If I had Borload and Borosword, it can make them like nobody's business. But yep, the main deck should be 41 or 42 cards, and that is my list for pure Phantom Knights, you guys. There's a lot of ways you can play Phantom Knights. But I definitely recommend and encourage you to actually play Phantom Knights themselves as a deck instead of just like throwing them in everything, because that is how you get cards banned, bro. I'll tell you that right now. That's how you can get Rusty hit, anything in the Phantom Knights like engine, the actual archetype hit, because people like will just throw them in anything that they can be played in. And that's how Armageddon got hit. That's how Dark Grepher got hit. That's how Malicious got hit. That's how also Tomahawk got hit. That like. Are you getting my gist? Like, that's how Brilliant Fusion got hit. That like cards like that, they need to be played in their own deck. If they belong to a specific archetype, just keep it like that. Like, Konami made them for that archetype for a reason. Like, it's not for people to just like really ruin it for people like me that really want to play the actual deck, because I want to play pure Phantom Knights. I love the deck. I think it's awesome by itself without anything else, like, you know, any splashable danger engines or anything like that. Like, it's a good deck. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys for the profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being patient with me. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Have a beautiful day. And definitely stay positive. Peace out, yo.